Hey guys, and welcome to Film Study, where we analyze films in various ways to make you see it in a different concept. I think we can all agree when I say that when A Quiet Place first came out, it was an unexpected hit with reviews saying many positive things like a terrifying thriller with a surprisingly warm heart. John Krasinski's A Quiet Place is a monster movie allegory for parenting in a world gone very, very wrong. And, utilizing the pure physicality of a cast you can count on one hand, the movie maintains a minimalist dread throughout, with every step or sudden move carrying the potential for instant death. For the promotion of the second installment of the film, John Krasinski reveals that he kinda does have a third part already on his mind.
Have you thought about a third one?
It's interesting. I genuinely hadn't thought about a second one when I was doing the first one. However, I really had these questions while I was doing it. Like, I put the fires out in the distance in the first one, and I always thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if we got to explore where those fires lead to, who is on the other end of those fires? But I never thought that there would be a sequel. So then when I actually came around to writing the sequel, I started with the fires.
He also revealed that when he made the first film, his wife had an impact for the second film, learning that there was more potential and unanswered questions that the audience could learn from the creature and the story. Like, what was the moment that everything changed? Where were they, and was there more than one? And what are the long-term effects of Reagan's alien disabling technique? We understand that in short bursts, the combination of Reagan's hearing aid and a microphone has a temporary disabling effect on the aliens, paralyzing them. And also if we will get more of Emmett's background. The original title for the second film was The Standard, put a 2 after the title. It was John's wife that thought of it as a book series and gave the idea of part 2 and part 3.
It was always A Quiet Place part 2 because it was actually my wife, when she read the script for the first time, she said, what I love most about the movie is it doesn't feel like a sequel, it feels like the second book in a trilogy of books. And I said, oh wow, that's really good. And I said that I had already thought of part 2. And when she said that, I said, so I'm allowed to put part 2 and not feel like a total poser to put part 2. I feel like the movie really feels like an actual continuation of the first one.
According to the Wikipedia page, a spin-off is set to release in 2023. On another page of information, it was said that Part 3 had a target release date sometime in 2025. With John Krasinski not being a main character like he was in the first one, it gives him more time with just directing and writing. There were reports of no director at all being on the project for a while. It just seemed like nothing was organized in terms of what was planned and announced. My original thought when hearing about this was it would be some kind of series or short series. It's actually technically a part 3 and is supposed to start where part 2 left off, but it's made by someone other than John Krasinski. It'll be set in the same world as the first 2 films, but will follow different characters in another Quiet Place. It's all based on an idea from Krasinski, who has been shepherding the film since he signed on to rewrite, direct, and co-star in the 2018 original. Originally set to premiere on March 21st, 2023, the upcoming A Quiet Place spin-off will drop on September 22nd, 2023 instead. There has just been a shift in directors as well, with Jeff Nichols, the director of Take Shelter and Mud, dropping out of the project recently. Now, Michael Sarnoski, who helmed 2021's Pig starring Nicolas Cage, is overseeing the film instead. It appears that the spin-off and A Quiet Place Part 3 are one and the same, with reports referring to the projects interchangeably. I honestly really would like to see this kind of theme with a different family, however, though, from their perspective, how another family would handle this creature. At the end of Part 2, Emmett and Reagan end up on this island where people appear to be safe until a boat is seen drifting to the island, exposing everyone to one of the creatures. This leaves all sorts of unanswered questions, which leaves a plot of potential for a third installment. A Quiet Place 3 news broke in mid-February about the intention of Part 3, but there has been multiple changes such as the release date and who was working on the project, having a couple directors on the project already. It won't be an official threequel in the purest sense, as Deadline has reported that the spin-off is now being officially billed as the third installment of the monster film series from an idea stemming from the mind of Krasinski, broadening the post-apocalyptic world introduced in the first 2 movies. An article from Pop Sugar seems to have the most up-to-date information, saying while a script for A Quiet Place 3 has already been written, details are still being kept under wraps as of February 15th. The release was pushed back to September 22nd, 2025. Nichols also dropped out, with director Michael Sarnoski stepping in to replace him. Krasinski's involvement in the film is still unknown, and it's unclear how the third film will connect with the original 2. Most recently, actually, as of the time of this recording, an article was just released from Digital Spy saying Paramount just confirmed the title for the spin-off version of the franchise, calling it A Quiet Place Day 1. The plot is still surrounded by secrecy, but the title gives a better idea of what to expect. We did get to see a glimpse of what it was like for the first day, but it was more like the first moment the aliens were introduced. With this version, we'll actually get more detail into the transition from normal life to living in silence. In reality though, the more I think about it, even though there are questions to be answered following the cliffhanger of part 2, what else could really be said following the theme of this film? It surrounds the idea of survival of an alien-like creature whose strength and sometimes weakness is purely based on sound, with the initial storyline following a single family from where this all started to now being torn apart given the father sacrificed himself to save the rest of his family, and seeing these characters grow from how they learn to live and becoming more brave, with Reagan going out on her own and Marcus facing his fear going toward the creature when he found out that his sister had achieved her goal of broadcasting the sound on radio. With the release date being so far off still, even though there is a script, there is still room for edits, so we wouldn't find out anything still for quite a while. But I am wondering what everyone else thinks. I will admit I'm a bit worried about the rumors of part 3 and the spin-off version becoming one project following a different family. It would make more sense if they followed the same family all the way through, especially with how part 2 ended with what we know now. And it would be a good idea if the island was a good target setting. Remember, Evelyn and Marcus are still at the mill and Reagan at the radio station. There could be more creatures out there. We know there were 3 confirmed, and from what we saw, all 3 were killed, but the only plot I see that would be happening is them coming back together and more creatures getting in their way. However, the easiest situation I think would be living on a boat. But would you still watch part 3 if a different family or different people were the main characters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.